This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for individual professional legal advice. The podcast information was carefully compiled from vetted sources and references. However, Rose Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly cannot guarantee that you will not fall victim to a scam. Let's talk about scams. It's the must-listen show for anyone who wants to protect themselves and their loved ones from scams. Every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time on K4HD Radio, Joyce Petrowski, founder of Rose, and her guests will provide valuable insights and practical tips on how to recognize and protect yourself from scams. And now, here is your host, Joyce Petrowski.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Scams. I'm Joyce Petrowski, founder of Rose Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly. You can find more information on our website at roseadvocacy.org. And on the homepage, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll find where you can sign up for our emailed newsletters and or our mailed newsletters. Those come out monthly. And you'll find our social media links. I believe those are up at the top of the page. So today, I want to talk about how can you determine the safety of a website. There have been articles written that scammers have created hundreds of thousands of fake websites. This is just part of how they've evolved over the years, and they'll set up fake websites to impersonate legitimate companies to make you think you're on the legitimate company website. So a couple of the things. So the URL, which is the actual website address, the https://, and then the www.roseadvocacy.org. So you can check that to make sure it has an S. So it's the HTTP and then an S, which means it's secure, that the owner of the website would have had to have purchased a security certificate or a security license from, and I'm going to use GoDaddy as an example because that's where I purchased Rose Advocacy domain from, and then got the security certificate through them as well. There's also, sometimes you'll see a padlock icon, and I'm going to share my screen so I can show you guys this. So give me just 1 second here. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to type in roseadvocacy.org. And this lock here is not the padlock that I'm talking about. That happens to be our logo. But when I type it in, it goes, you see our logo right there is a lock, but you'll see these, they look like toggle switches. One goes to the left, one goes to the right. That is where you would click on it. It says view site information. So if I click on it, it shows you the website, and then it says connection is secure, but you could go a little bit farther. There you see the padlock, connection is secure, and it explains what that is, and you can learn more about that. It says the certificate is valid. So that's one way you can look at it. Now, if you go back, you can also go in and you can look at a whole bunch of information on cookies and site data and all of that. I'm not going to get into that today, but that is something you can go, farther into here. It tells you what cookies they're used to remember you, for example, to sign you in or personalize ads. And to manage cookies for all sites, you can go right to your settings. And we talk about this a lot in the presentations is whenever you get on a website, it usually will come up and say, you must either accept all the cookies. Sometimes it'll say manage the cookies or accept only necessary cookies. Well, you really should accept only necessary. Or you could go into manage and then it'll show you all the cookies and make sure all of them are turned off except for the strictly necessary. And then this is just a little bit more information on manage on device site data. And then site settings. Again, you could go in here and you can look at all the different, the different settings for the website. So that is up here is I'm going to exit out of here. This looks like a little toggle switch here, one to the left, one to the right. Sometimes you'll see a padlock. Again, if I click on this, you'll see the padlock here showing connection is secure. So that's a quick way to look to make sure that yes, this security certificate is valid and that the site is listed as secure. But as scammers evolved, when they get they buy these domains to put these fake websites on, they could also buy a security certificate, right? It's not that expensive to buy a domain, and it's not that expensive to buy the security certificate. So I think now that they know a lot of people start looking for that padlock, that they're looking for the HTTPS to show that it's secured, that they're upping their game and they're like, okay, well, we're going to have this on our site too, to make people believe that it is a secure site. So another thing you can do is you can examine the content, right? And this was an old way where you could look for, a lot of grammatical errors, poor spelling, awkward phrasing, all kinds of stuff like that. But we've talked a lot about artificial intelligence and AI. And that right there, like the Chat GPT, that helps them not have all those grammatical errors, those misspellings, all of that stuff. It's going to give them everything they need to, put on the website. So you can't necessarily look at that as well. Again, or not again, sorry, but you can look for contact information, on the website, and you can see ours down here at the bottom. You'll see where we have our mailing address, we have our phone number, our eFax, our email address, a bunch of different links here for things. We have our disclaimer, who designed and is hosting, contact information as well. It just kind of helps it seem a little bit more legitimate. But then they have these online tools now that you can get on and use to kind of take it a step further to look at the safety or the security of a website. So I'm going to get into those. And this is URL void or web of trust. I'm going to get into this URL void here, and we're going to do this who is lookup. And I believe I'm saying that correctly. And the ICANN, the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, is the regulator for the WHOIS database of domain names. They go all the way back to 1982, so they've got a lot of data. The information that you're going to find in that database can vary from domain registrar to domain registrar, but you should be able to see the date somebody registered their domain, their website, if it's expired, the last time the domain was updated, who the registrar is, who the registrar is. Like I explained before, mine was GoDaddy, so that's one of them. And then you could probably see the owner of the domain, but you're not going to see a lot of personal identifiable information. They had some GDPR regulations, which made them the WHOIS not show personally identifiable information in there. So you're going to see when we do Rose Advocacy's website and look at it, you're going to see a lot of information that says redacted. And that's because they're not allowed to make that publicly available to everyone. So let's go back up here, and you can I'm just going to click here because I've already typed it in once. So roseadvocacy.org. You don't need to put the www. You just put the domain name, which is Rose Advocacy. And then we're a nonprofit, so it's .org. And then here I have to click because I'm not a robot. And we're going to look it up. And so you're going to see here where it has the domain name, roseadvocacy.org, the registry ID. Here it is who's the registrar. I got the domain at GoDaddy, so you're going to see that come up there, and the URL for them. And then the last date that it was updated was, it looks like November 25th, 2024. So that was almost 6 months ago. Creation date, you're going to see that this website was purchased August 27th, 2021. It expires August 27th, 2025. I have to go in every year and renew the domain and pay the fee. And so once I do that in the next couple months, you'll see that this will get updated to August 27th, 2026. You're going to have some information on GoDaddy, who is the registrar. If you wanted to report abuse, that's their email number or their email address, their phone number. And then you're going to get down here and you're going to find all this information, the registrant, the name, the organization, but the street, the city, all of this, the phone, all of this stuff is redacted. And that was because of those new regulations, which this is personally identifiable information. And so they have all this redacted. But again, you can find a lot of information right here at the beginning to find out if it's a brand new. You're going to want to be a little bit suspicious if the creation date, if it's a brand new website, maybe if it just doesn't get updated at all, just, kind of look it out, look it over. And you can also, you've got the email address, the website for the registrar to kind of check them out to make sure that they're good. All right. So then let's look at the next thing here let me go back to this PDF. We can use, again, this is a URL void.com. We're going to go back into that, and this is going to kind of look up you can go in and again, type in the website address or the domain, and then scan website. And you're going to come up and it's going to show the website address. You're going to look at it. The last analysis was done 3 months ago. I can click here to have it, to rescan, but there were 0 out of 39 detection counts. You can see it matches right here with what it said in the Whois directory, that this domain was registered on August 27th, 21. You could go into the Whois lookup right through here. You could check out the DNS records as well. Gives you the IP address. This happens to be the website of the company that hosts Rose Advocacy website. Going to tell you the server locations in the United States, which makes sense. And then you're going to come down here, and this is interesting. So this is where this website scans all of these different engines here, and they're going to tell you if they find anything. And that 0 out of 39, I think it was, right up here. All of this is nothing found on all these different. Now, if you're interested, you can go in here under view more details, and it's going this one here, the fake sites list, the artist against 419. So it'll have a site name, it'll say active, date added, updated, all of that. And so you can go through It'll tell you exactly, what the site name is and all of that. So this is a fake sites list. If you want to go in and view all of these, um, to kind of check them out, it looks like there's 170,564 records on this. So I'm going to get out of there and go back here again. You can go all the way down. Let's pick another one right here. Let's view more details on this one. Well, that says that might just be, let's see. Let me go pick another one. Bitdefender. Let's go into that. We haven't seen any. So Bitdefender is looking at the website. They haven't seen any suspicious activity from this website. So that's great. So again, that's just another way you can go in and check out the reputation and how safe the website is. Now, there's also, it says check for reviews. You can, look on Google reviews, you can look on the website to see if there's testimonials. Kind of just helps to help you to gauge the credibility of the website. There's also this Google transparency report. So you can see the safety rating of a website from Google. So I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to type in the roseadvocacy.org and hit enter to search. So the information was last updated on May 13th. Site safety can change. The site safety can change over time. So check back for updates. But as of this second, they found no unsafe content found. So that's another way through the Google transparency report that you can check things out as well. And then the last thing listed on here is Better Business Bureau. It's another way it's another avenue for you to do more research to see if people have had complaints and how they've resolved complaints and all of that on there. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and excuse me. So there's a variety of different ways. Just remember, when you look for that padlock icon, excuse me, let me get a drink here. I got a tickle. All right. Or that little toggle switch to the left-hand side of the website address. You can click on that and you can review the site settings and see if there's a safety certificate or their security certificate is valid, if it shows that they're a secure website. But as I said, scammers, they can buy those security certificates as well when they buy the domain. So you kind of have to you have to add some things. You need to research it out. Like we said, Better Business Bureau. Look on the website to see if there's any contact information. And examining the content, yes, if you see stuff that's just really bad grammar, all of that stuff, then that right there's a telltale sign that you might want to get off that. But as we said, with the artificial intelligence, that really helps the scammers, and they really don't have the bad grammar and all of that stuff anymore because of the artificial intelligence, the chat GPTs, all of that. But use those online tools, the URL void, .com. I'm going to look that back up again. So yeah, urlvoid.com. You can go in and check out the reputation of websites. You can go into the Whois and look that up, make sure everything makes sense as to, when the domain was registered, when it's been updated, and then use the Google transparency report, which is transparencyreport.google.com and then /safe-browsing. And I will go in once this is all loaded up to YouTube, and I will put these links in there as well. But then I'm going to go into one other thing. I use this a lot. I use it on my phone, especially when I'm searching on the internet. I know a lot of people like to use, I think DuckDuckGo is one, and there's a couple other ones that have more of a private browsing when you're browsing the internet. So it's not really tracking cookies and all kinds of stuff like that on you. This one is called incognito mode. Um, and you can, when you open up your browser, meaning if you use Chrome, Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, you can if you have a Mac computer, you're going to want to click the Command Shift and then N as in Nancy. Any other computer, you're going to do Control Shift and then N as in Nancy. And that opens up a new incognito window in Chrome. Or you can select new incognito window from the browser menu in Chrome or Firefox. And once you select that, it's a new window opens and it'll show that it's in the incognito mode, and usually has an icon in the top corner, and then you can start searching. So basically what that does is the majority of the web browsers out there, they keep a record of the websites and pages that you visit by default. They're storing your history of what you've been doing, what you've been browsing on the internet. So you can easily find it and go back to it if you want to later on. But most browsers have the option to temporarily suspend this record keeping, meaning the web pages you'll visit will be kept private. And that's to anyone else that is using that same browser. So every browser has a different name for the setting. Chrome, we talked about its incognito mode. Microsoft Edge, it's in private mode. Safari is private browsing. Firefox is private mode. So we talked about how you can go in and find those, but a lot of people might go in and manually clear their history, clear their cache or their cookies, because sometimes when you have a lot of those going on, the cache or cookies, sometimes it might affect your computer and how it might slow down how your computer's working, or it just might not work like it used to. I'm trying to think of an example and I can't off the top of my head, but I know a lot of times I'll like shoot an email over to, I'll be looking at something on Rose Advocacy's website, and I click on something and it just doesn't bring the new page up like it should. It maybe doesn't bring it up at all. And I'll email my website guy and say, hey, is there something wrong with this page? And a lot of the times he'll be like, clear your cache or in your cookies and then try it again. It probably will just reset everything. But when you don't need to manually do that, clear your browsing history, your cache, or your cookies, if you're in the private browsing modes, the incognitos, what else was it? The incognito mode, the in private mode, the private browsing. You don't need to manually go in and clear all that stuff, because private browsing modes, they don't save your browsing history, your cached pages, or cookies. So there isn't anything in there to delete. So, and it really, it affects it to where if somebody else is to get on, say you're using your laptop, like I've got my laptop here and I'm in the incognito mode, and it's private browsing and it's not saving all of that information. So then let's say someone else, let's say my husband gets on my laptop to do something on the internet, it doesn't save any of that. So if he went to history to find a website that he wanted to look at that maybe I was just looking at, it's not going to show up because it was private browsing mode. So that helps if you are planning a surprise for somebody and, like your spouse or whatever. And, or if you both share, and you share computers and stuff, they can't like go into the browsing history and go, let me see what surprise they're planning and stuff like that. So some people like it. Some people don't use it. They just, like I said, they go in every so often manually to clear all that stuff. So again, up to you. It's an option if you want to use it, but just remember the private browsing. It's doesn't. It's only device specific. So it's not going to. Let me see here. It's not going to. It's not going to have any effect on, how do I want to say this? Since it's device specific, it's not going to have any effect on the website itself. It's only on your device. It's not tracking the cookies from that website, the cache, the browsing history on your device. So just keep that in mind. And remember that the different ways to check the safety of a website. It's always good. And another thing that helps with the safety of websites is your antivirus and anti-malware software. You've got it on, you've got it running 24/7. You have it on all of your devices that are connected to the internet, including your phone. And say you accidentally click on a link, it should recognize if it's a bad link and come up and tell you, we've detected that this is a malicious site, this is a bad site, whatever it's going to say. And then it's going to give you the option to say, hey, nope, I don't want to go there. Or, okay, yes, I'm willing to take the risk. And so, yes, I'm going to go there to that site. But it gives you the option to not get into that bad site. So that's another way. But just remember the ways to do the research. Check out the URL, make sure it has the S after the HTTP. You can check their security certificate, like we showed you, just to the left of the website's name, up in the search, or up in the where the URL is. And then you can also you should do some online research. Use those online tools, the URL void. Go in and check out the reputation. Go in and check out the whois information so you can see who the registrar is. You can see when the domain was set up. And then use that Google transparency report to see if Google has found anything that they consider unsafe on that site. And then the reputation one on the URL void, that is really quite interesting, that it's going to check all of those different sites that are tracking website's reputation to see if the site that you're researching shows up in any of those. So it's a lot of great information on how you can check the safety of a website. Don't forget, you're going to want to have your antivirus, anti-malware on all your devices that are connected to the internet. It's just another way to help you stay safe when you're out there browsing and searching for things. And when you are out there browsing and searching, a lot of times you'll see in the search results, there's sponsored ads that come up, and it'll say right underneath the URL or the name of the website, it'll say sponsored ad, or just say sponsored. Scammers will hang out in those sponsored ads too, because they know that kind of gets people's attention, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I want that, whatever it is at that discount, and they'll click on the link through the sponsored ad. Well, you can see the website URL that shows up in the Google search, and then go to that URL yourself, that company's website yourself. You don't need to click on it through the sponsored ad. If you scroll down a little farther, you'll probably find that website listed, but it won't be a sponsored ad. Go into it that way and check to see if there really is that ad in there. Because sometimes scammers hang out in those sponsored ads, and it's really companies paying for these ads and having them show up in the first couple of search results. And scammers know again, that people are doing that. And so they will hang out in those sponsored ads as well. So be very careful with your website searches. Do your research. Have your antivirus, anti-malware software running all of the time on all your devices, and stay safe with your web browsing. Until next time, visit roseadvocacy.org. You can sign up for our monthly newsletters down at the bottom of the homepage. There's one via email. There's one that we mail out to you at the beginning of every month. You can sign up for one or both. You'll find our social media links on there as well. We are on, we have the YouTube channel. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So until next week, see you then. Bye-bye.
Well, that's all the knowledge for this episode. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time on K4HD Radio at k4hd.com as Joyce explores a variety of knowledge so you have the power to make scam protection your healthy habit. And until then, feel free to reach out to Joyce and let's talk about scams.